Now, let's take a look at the scope of this report. First and foremost, Nigeria being in the league of Pakistan, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. What's your reaction to this?
Well, is it just like every other security issue right now? I think global reporting templates should be rejigged to capture the present scenarios. If you look at terrorism and herdsmen crisis, put them pari passu, you'll be very shocked to see that it's a regional menace. And this regional menace does not really tally closely to a country. If you look at Nigeria itself, you are looking at Niger, you are looking at all the surrounding countries, Cameroon. Exactly. People were found with AK-47, they said they bought it from Cameroon. So you look at Chad with people coming in with porous borders. I told someone the other day, I say it's not purely porous borders. It's borders with commensurate religion and cultural people.
Similarities.
Yeah. So you don't know when somebody jumps into the other side. So we need to tally these reports to meet the present scenarios of regional crisis.
So now let's also take a look at the staggering figures from the deaths so far. Yes, there's a decline by 16%, but at the end of the day, we still see that these deaths mirror the kind of combat we are putting towards them. So do you think now that the Boko Haram terrorists and other groups are waging a comeback, especially on military bases, we are doing enough, and should we be faulting the term that Boko Haram is technically defeated?
Okay, let's look at the death figures. The death figures, it was not really clear if it was aligning to herdsmen attacks or terrorism from the Boko Haram and the ISWAP. Okay, so they need to separate that, so we'll be sure what we are really addressing. Now, if we look at the attacks on military installation, I'm a retired military personnel, and I would like to tell you that on an assessment mode on the people, I would like to give it a good mark, because it's better you attack the military than you go into the marketplaces and kill innocent people.
But if this is the security apparatus supposed to protect, and if
yes,
they're not strong enough.
When the attack is tailored towards the military, then the military needs to put his house in order, because the military itself was in combative mode, defensive mode. Now it needs to be in attacking mode. And don't forget that the terrorists themselves, they are dressed in the same apparels like the people that you are protecting. And they live amongst the same people. They could penetrate and go into the same market of the same people. So if we say they are technically defeated, and that was for an error, then that assessment needs to be reappraised. If you watch now, you will see that the military heads of commands and everything, they have gone to do a round table. They wanted to go to Benin. I think they moved it to Maiduguri. Yes. And the chief of defense staff has said, okay, chief of army staff, zonal, regional commanders, all of them should move to the tactical zones. Now, when you have that, they need to reappraise. But I will tell you that the military is not prepared for this attack.
And talking about the military's preparedness and not so ready for the attack, what would now be the way forward? Because if at the end of the day you can't really fight back or be in attack mode, then where lies our security?
No, it's sad, because so many security practitioners have been bringing the notion that these terrorist groups are getting upgraded in their technology, they are getting upgraded in their training capacity, they are getting upgraded in their manpower integration into a West African regional matter. Now we are looking at people coming in from Chad, Mali to mix up with the Nigerian terrorists themselves to form a fighting unit. So these are fighting units that have been in the desert and in other places fighting and having gotten this strong notion that we are going against Nigerian army. They empower the army. It's just like your friends come into your house. They won't have the right respect you have for your dad. You know, so when you look at the components of the terrorist groups, then you need the military to upgrade to the standard of international fighting capabilities. You need to have electronic capability. You need to have intelligence inculcation. You need to have response capabilities. And when you want to go into response capabilities, we are talking of our air capacity. We are talking about our fighting units. They just ordered some from jets that they say we arrive in 20 what? Okay, so you need to be looking at all those lapses against our armaments, against our units having the right procurement.
Ambassador, let's just take a last question now. Take a flashback to the death of Saifra Kosa as well as Hawa Liman, and Sharibu still in captivity. Now, what sort of negotiations should government be having? Because at the end of the day, some reports will say that, well, it is the negotiations or the monies that they exchange that is being used to refund these insurgents, and that's why we have a stronger comeback.
You see, you know, your questions are just creating a lot of throwbacks into areas that would have been taken care of, you know. No, we had this forum where we projected that negotiation should be one when you are on a stronger side. When you are negotiating with a group that are jihadists, that have this notion of they can die and become blessed, they can die and go to heaven, they can die and become martyrs, okay? So you negotiate with them at their weakest point. There was a time that they had a weakest point. They have not integrated with ISWAP. They have not even started to talk with Al-Qaeda. You know, they were also having paucity of cash, paucity of funds, paucity of followership. Now, the Al-Banawi group are broken from Shekau group, and they are saying want to attack military installations. We don't have problems with you. They returned the girls that they took Shaibu from, and everybody was clapping for them. So you now have a sympathy drive, and you have them there not ready to negotiate anymore.